If you haven't found your spot yet, it would be a good time to do that right now. What chapter are we in? Huh? 28? Hello? Really? You're a couple of chapters ahead. 26 is where we at. Huh? Are we? I mean, it's a long chapter. My plan is to finish chapter 26 today. And we're not even going to go to 27 because it's a whole different chapter. And it so happens that next week we have Alaskan Mission presentation. And then after that we have guest speaker that you can enjoy him. He is our district president. Cool thing about him, I'm working on it. Well, what I'm saying is that I think, and people believe that pastors should not use any notes when preaching. And I kind of agree with that, but it's kind of hard to let go of your notes, you know. But he's one of those pastors that doesn't use any notes when he preaches. He can just be concise and just go on. All right? Okay, so you like him. But so we're going to finish this chapter because we're going to have a 2-week break, and you won't remember what chapter we're in. So we're not even going to get to 27 because that's a separate story. Let's just finish this up. How about that? Okay, everybody ready? I'm already getting fired up. I'm going to take off this jacket. Do you mind? Do ladies in the congregation mind? I'm supposed to ask. I mean, this is kind of like an old-fashioned thing. The men's supposed to wear coats and stuff. Like you watch old stuff, like when people travel on the airplane, men wore ties and and coats and all that stuff, and now it's just flip-flops. Same thing for funerals. Pastoral. Yeah, it depends on the level of your sophistication. Okay, let's say a prayer and start the Bible study. We give you thanks, Almighty God, for bringing us to be in your house, to receive your gifts, and now to listen to your word, listen to you, and as you teach us, as you guide us, as you confront our sin, as you proclaim the gospel. In Christ's name we pray. Amen. So story of Isaac Abimelech, and we've been in this story, seems like for a long time, and it'll begin with what? Isaac and Rebecca doing that thing again with, she's my sister, Abimelech catches them laughing and having a good time, right? And he says, that's no sister there. But again, nothing happens to Isaac. He certainly doesn't get punished, but the Lord is with him. You'll hear that reflected even into today's portion of the story. But people don't really like Isaac that much, do they? They keep on doing what? They keep on filling in those wells. They're like, who's this guy? I mean, he lies to us, and yet he prospers. I mean, there's a famine in the land. Everybody is suffering, and here's Isaac really getting all this good things happening to him. So jealousy, we talked about that jealousy doesn't come by itself. It's not just a feeling. It moves on to, just like anger, doesn't come by itself. And it moves on to something else. So Isaac keeps digging wells, and there's this quarreling over all that stuff, and then we stopped at talking about 23 and 24, how the Lord appeared to the same way he appeared to Abraham. and he appears to Isaac, and he repeats his blessing that he is the God of your father Abraham, and I will, just like I promised, I'm going to be with you, and I'm going to multiply your offspring, because it's Abraham's promise to Abraham, and I promised that to him. And the last thing we talked about was what? We talked about the altar, how the altar was the culmination, and how at the end of blessing, Isaac doesn't just simply say, well, thank you very much, let's have a Thanksgiving service. No, he says, I'm going to build an altar. An altar is a place of what? Where sacrifice takes place. And so we talked about, ultimately, about the altar, even here at St. John's. Remember that discussion, right? I think it was a wonderful discussion, not because I did it, but because that's what the Bible teaches us. All right, so we're going to move on now to the new material. So 26, when Abimelech went to him from Gerar with Ahuzzath, his advisor, and Phicol, the commander of his army, Isaac said to them, why have you come to me, seeing that you hate me and have sent me away from you? They said, we see plainly that what? The Lord has been with you. And so we said, let there be a sworn pact between us, between you and us, and let us make a covenant with you, that you will do us no harm, just as we have not touched you or have done to you nothing but good, and have sent you away in peace. You are now the blessed of the Lord. So he made them a feast, and they ate and drank. In the morning they rose early and exchanged oaths. And Isaac set them on their way, and they departed from him in peace. That same day Isaac's servants came and told him about the well that they had dug, and said to him, we have found water. He called it Sheba. Therefore the name of that city is Beersheba to this day. When Esau was 40 years old, he took Judith, the daughter of Beeri, the Hittite, to be his wife, and Basemath, the daughter of Elon, the Hittite, and they made life bitter for Isaac and Rebekah. So, kind of an interesting ending, and we get something else next chapter, so just a little side commentary. So, hold on to your hats. We'll get to it. Those bitter daughters-in-law. So a life's lesson coming. All right, but before we get to that, Abimelech is back in the story. Recall he enters, as we talked about it, when he was basically lied to, right? So this is kind of a difficult relationship then. Because, he has no reason really to like Isaac, right? And we talked at length. I'm just reminding you what we talked about, how even though he, righteous man, in the civil righteousness, so we talked about that, how being a believer doesn't make you a better person sometimes, not according to the world, right? Sometimes people outside of the church are the nicer ones. So we have that with Abimelech here. But in the end, more or less, they kind of parted ways. I mean, there seems to be some kind of a tension. And you see that betrayed in his, we know that the Lord blessed you. You're the blessed one of the Lord. We can't figure it out why, even in the midst of famine, he has blessed you. But what are we? I mean, the Lord blessed you. You got this. You have this protection, right? You have this cover over your head. We might not like you, but we're not going to mess with the blessed of the Lord. Whether we like it or not, this is how it goes. And you are somehow, they see him as so powerful that they don't want to mess with him. So they come to him. Isaac doesn't come to them. The king comes to him, and he brings with him his top people. So this is all about what? Politics, right? And those of you who like, political science, so what? Geopolitics, right? They're making arrangements, they're making agreements, they're making pacts, and all that stuff. And Abimelech comes with his entourage, and even though it only mentions 2 people, when important people like that, they travel, they don't come by themselves. There's probably all kinds of people. It's like, when Roy Cooper comes to town, he doesn't come by himself, even though the paper says Roy Cooper is in town. There comes like 50 people, his bodyguards, state troopers, and all that stuff, and whoever else, I don't know. Or imagine, imagine your favorite, the President of the United States comes, and, the entourage there. I remember Obama came here driving 321. Everybody was lining up, all the police, everybody, So we have VIPs come into town, and they come in force. All right? So how does Isaac greet them? What do you make out of what he's greeting? Look at 27. What do you think? Is he happy to see them? He's cautious. Why is he cautious? Yeah, why are you here? Why would he be not happy to see them? Yeah, does he think that they like him? Do they have a reason to like him? No, not at all, But, and we talked about this several times, does Isaac put the best construction on everything? Yeah, he tends to see himself. And also, he is very distrustful of people. He thinks they're going to deceive him. Remember we talked about that? How he projects his own fears and insecurities onto others. When he goes to Abimelech, he repeats the same explanation. Why did you lie to us? Well, you folks are evil. I had no choice. You were going to kill me and dispose of me and take my wife anyway. And so we talked about how in our sinful nature, we tend to do what? We see the evil that's within us, and we think of others in that same category. We project our own insecurities onto others. And what commandment is that, by the way? What commandment is he breaking? When you don't put the best construction on everything. Yeah. It's very good. Look at page 321 in your hymnals. Page 321. All right. We're going to use the hymnal cup. It's full of kind of different resources. All right. 321. And Darryl nailed it. He remembers his catechism. And what commandment is that? The 8th commandment. Yeah, you shall not give false testimony against your neighbor. What does this mean? We should fear and love God so we do not tell lies about our neighbor, betray him, slander him, or hurt his reputation. But defend him, speak well of him, and explain everything in the kindest way. Or another way to put it, put the best construction on everything. Does Isaac really fit this? He's like the opposite, right? He tells lies. He sees lies. He assumes the worst about his neighbor, betrays him, right? He'd say, well, yeah. Slander in his mind. He paints this horrible picture of the people that he lives with. They're like Sodom and Gomorrah there. Does he defend him? Speak well of him? No, he does the opposite, right? But think about it. Is it a good or a bad practice to be suspicious about other people. Because he's being very suspicious about their visit, isn't he? He's not opening his doors like, come on in, guys.
I'm guilty of that same.
Yeah.
Because, I want to get to know somebody.
Get to know. And yeah.
And, if somebody has kind of rubbed me the wrong way, it's hard for me to
Yeah.
say here, to defend him, speak well of him, and explain everything.
Yeah.
Do that.
Right.
Somebody, you just really don't care.
Yeah. And as if you heard there, it's hard because we base our trust or mistrust on our experience. So we need to get to know somebody before we trust. And this is, I think this is kind of the result of living in the world. And we teach our kids that because by nature, kids are trusting until we teach them, stranger danger, right? And then they begin to, and they maybe learn it, in their own way and manner. But it wasn't meant to be that way. I think it's a byproduct of living in the sinful world. And it depends on the person, but some people tend to be more paranoid, trained paranoid. Have you heard that? I mean, if you ever deal with like a full-time career police officers, this is kind of like they put like the worst construction of everything. Yeah, you have to assume the worst. Yeah, until you're proven otherwise, you are mortal danger there. All right, so you have. So just think about how about you? How do you view strangers or people in general? Are you suspicious of them? Why? I'll tell you a story. Nobody is immune to that. I remember calling a fellow pastor. And every time I would call him, he's like, why are you calling me? I'm like, does the district have a problem with me? Because I'm a circuit there. I'm like, no, I'm just checking in. Oh, okay. It's just like, everybody's paranoid. Why are you calling me, dude? All right. Okay, so moving on. They said, we see plainly that the Lord has been with you. So that's, and then you are now blessed of the Lord. Okay, 29. So what's the most important factor for them? Why do they come to him and decide to make peace with him? They fear. Yeah, the Lord is, again, it's kind of like nothing else. That's the main reason that they do what they do. Not because he is a successful farmer, not because he knows how to present his wife as his sister. None of that plays and get away with it. The main thing is the Lord is with him. And then they remind him that, that we're the ones that were nice to you. So what's with this attitude? Why have you come? Of all things, you should know that we're going to be nice to you. We should be suspicious of you. But again, as a sinner, we project our own sinfulness onto other people. So Isaac he knows how to play games and political games. And he said, well, those guys are probably no better than me. He's probably right, And so they remind him, we didn't touch you. We issued a decree that nobody should touch you or your wife, even after what you did, And then we passed a law to protect you. And why? Because we see that the Lord has blessed you. So we don't want to mess with the Lord. And we want to be connected in a positive way with you. So we, because every time you mess up, as a result of that, we might do something wrong. The Lord is going to punish us. It's not fair, right? It's kind of like it goes back to Pharaoh. Abraham, lies to Pharaoh and says, yeah, I said my sister. Now, who gets the short end of the stick right there? Pharaoh is the one who suffers. So Abimelech, I'm not doing that. Right or wrong, He's probably thinking, yeah, it's not right, but, what are you going to do? That's the way the cookie crumbles. I mean, you don't mess with this guy and his wife. The Lord is on his side, not because this is, again, Isaac is this kind of a shining example. I mean, just like, what's his name? Jonah, right? We talked about that. Yeah. They're not like missionaries, right, that you want to come and do a presentation in your Sunday school about their mission work. Oh, yeah, we'll lie about our, yeah, we hate those people. I mean, but begrudgingly we'll tell them, So we have this kind of a coming together, if nothing else, of Jew and Gentile. All right? So you have this covenant pact being made between a non-Israelite and an Israelite. And they kind of want to be a part, they want to have this connection to a blessing. So this non-Jewish Abimelech and his commander and his advisor and his entourage, they see that there is something about this Lord who blesses people, not because they're any better than anybody else, because they know who Isaac is, but they want to be connected somehow to this blessing of God, okay? And in this instance, what? Isaac doesn't say, okay, well, you know what, go away. He invites them, right? So he made them 30. So he made them a feast, and they ate and drank. In the morning they rose early and exchanged oaths. And Isaac set them on their way, and they departed from him in peace. And you have the sense of who is in charge and who's running the show. Who's making the decisions? Is it Abimelech or Isaac? Isaac is the one who initiates things. They come bidding to him. Even though, what is Isaac in the land of Abimelech? Stranger. He's a sojourner. Again, this is the people from whom, Hittites are the people that, we'll get to that. But, he's not in charge. Yet he's the one calling the shots. He said, okay, we're going to serve all right, morning time, guys, we'll sign the pact and go on. he's like, bye, time to go. Michael.
In a way, Abimelech was interceding for the Philistines.
Okay.
Because he told them basically to leave them alone.
Yeah.
And then they continued to fill his wells in.
Uh-huh.
So then that's when he told Isaac to go.
Yeah.
Against Greer, they still quarreled.
Yeah, yes.
It's almost like, I guess, like you said, he saw the Lord and blessed him.
Yeah.
Instead of,
Right.
I guess there's a point where he knows the people keep.
Yeah, people don't understand it, maybe don't appreciate it, but he does. All right. Yeah. 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 Very interesting. And he comes, it's not Isaac that says, you know what are we going to do about all those quarrels and all the wells? I mean, Abimelech, please tell your people. No, it's Abimelech that comes to Isaac, he made them. Isaac makes them what? A feast, and they ate and they drank. I don't know if we talked about that, but what's with the feast? I mean, why are they sitting out to eat and drink before they sign any pacts? What do you make out of it? Peace offering? Hospitality? Yeah, I mean, I think it's kind of common sense. Well, keep an eye. There is being, yeah. Keep an eye on each other, but do you eat with people you don't trust? Yeah, well, only if they're paying. I think this is a kind of like remember we talked about on other occasions, that you have this imagery of even in today's gospel reading, right? The wedding feast. Those of you who were at 8 o'clock service, the master invites the guests to the what? To the wedding feast, and many are invited, few are chosen. What's with the feast? I mean, what do you do at the feast? Why such a big deal with the feast?
You're doing some, it represents communion almost.
Yeah, well, yeah, ultimately it goes to communion.
But, you nourish your body, so
Yeah,
things you have to do, but that's the reason you nourish your body with the communion.
yeah, you share, I think you kind of share the meal. It's in the sign of trust because you eat from the same plate. They're not like ordering separate plates and say, well, you eat out of this pile of rice and I'm going to eat these tomatoes with cucumbers. No, we share the meal. And to be able to share a meal, you have to trust the other person or drink from the same vessel, right? At least from the same, pour out from the same vessel, that you're not going to poison. So it's a sign of trust, right? It's a sign of coming together, and you even are you going to go out to eat with your enemies? Not unless you're trying to reconcile, right? Yeah, smoke the pipe. Yeah, they haven't come up with that yet. So yeah, that's what they're doing. They're sharing something intimate that requires trust. It just, Abraham does it, doesn't he, with the Lord? He said, well, let me just have a barbecue here. We're going to sit down and eat. Yeah, but meals, I mean, again, just think about it. Even without deep this theological application, how you eat with people that you want to be at peace with. All right? It's the people that it's a sign of your favor. And with communion, again, this is to take you just kind of all the way to every Sunday. The Lord wants to be with you at the table. He wants to share his feast with you. And ultimately, there's going to be, a feast in heaven, a wedding feast that has no end. So what's happening? I get up in the morning, and so this is the next day, and they exchange oaths, and then they go on, and it all works out in the end. It's kind of it's a difficult relationship, right? The kind of the two sides, the two parties. At some point, it falls to pieces with the whole digging of and undigging and filling in the wells. And in the end, they decide we're going to live in peace with each other. So why do you think it worked out in the end? Yeah, God won. I mean, I think what's the common denominator? Both sides acknowledge that the Lord. One side, I'm with the Lord. The other one side says, we know that you are with the Lord, and we want to be at peace with the people of God there. Yeah, okay, kind of common denominator. They acknowledge the Lord. They do acknowledge the Lord. Not quite a confession, but they acknowledge the Lord, and they say, he blessed you. So to them, the Lord is very real, okay? It's not like something that they just dismiss and say, well, whatever. Now, and then we have what we often happens in the scriptures. We have this parenthetical kind of like comment. I mean, out of the blue, not connected to the story at all, and really not necessarily directly connected to what happens next, even though indirectly, we'll talk about that, maybe it plays a role. But you have this a note, okay, kind of interjection. It's like a little Easter egg that that Moses plans that later on is going to play an important role. And again, we have to go back to the relationship with Esau and Jacob. And now we have Esau again. And after that, we're going to see more of that relationship. So that comes the focus. The focus is shifting now from Isaac to his sons, the two brothers. And so it got kind of a more of a transition to a new story. When Esau was 40 years old, he took Judith, the daughter of Beeri, the Hittite, to be his wife, and Basemath, the daughter of Elon, the Hittite. And what happened? And they lived happily ever after, right? No. How does the NIV put it? The source of grief for Isaac and Rebekah, or ESV says, and they made life bitter. I think that's more powerful. Like, there's an expression in Russian, like you have, let me just, not translate it, but interpret it. You can have like a barrel full of honey, but if you put one drop of bitterness, it's going to taste bitter. Right? Even one drop of bitterness is going to change the whole barrel of honey. Right? So, I mean, and you think about your life, if you have something that's bothering you, even though, I mean, I don't know if anybody counts percentages, but 99% of your life is good. But that 1% that's bad, that one source of stress, one thorn in the flesh, if you will, is so ridiculously annoying that you can't even think of all the good things in your life. I mean, all you can focus is just that one thing. I mean, it doesn't matter if you have a good health and you get up in the morning and there's no aches and all that stuff doesn't matter to you. Because there's one thing that, think about when you were a teenager, like, right, puppy love. You fall in love and it doesn't work out. Like, the world is going to end. Boy. Remember those times, Sandra? No, you shouldn't. I don't know. I'm not picking. Hey, it's like the world is going to end because of, she broke up with you. I'm like, dude. All right. So, anyway, their life is bitter, okay? All right, so Esau is what, 40 years old, and then he decides that this is time. This is my time now. He decides to marry two women. So let's pause here for a minute. So what is this setup? What are the pros and the cons with this? Two wives. Is it good or bad? Tell me. I'm not going to repeat that for you. Yeah. So, what could be good about having two wives? I mean, maybe they have different facets, right? One is Two to wait on him, yeah. Yeah, what was it, the Bible study we had? Two are better than one, right? It was in different context, but... Yeah, okay, well, you can run with it, For some reason, he thinks that two are better than one, But then what could be bad about two? Be jealous? I mean, how many in-laws are you going to have? I'm just kidding. It's a joke, too. And okay, all right, so, and then what? They're the Hittites, right? And the Hittites were the people that, what's the connection with Isaac? Huh? When was the last time we saw the Hittites? Abraham, right? He buys land to what? To bury Sarah from the Hittites. Okay, so there's a connection, they're hanging out there. They're foreigners to Isaac, right? And that's kind of fleshed out in that story with Abraham. He points out to them, you know what, guys, I'm going to buy it. I'm not going to kind of trust your word. We're going to make it, we're going to go to the Register of Deeds and write it down. All right, so they make life bitter, okay? Now, we don't know why. What's the deal, okay? But we can assume that they're probably not happy about what? Why would they not be happy about Esau's choice? What's your guess? Different people, okay? He's not marrying his people. It's outside the promise, the people. And as the events unfold in the next chapter, you will see that, and you can kind of have to wonder how this choice is going to affect Rebecca's choices down the road. I mean, she already has kind of picked out her favorite, right? But it's like, well, this guy's not helping me by bringing in this two daughter-in-laws or daughters-in-law. Yeah. Darryl, did you have something?
You know, back in that day, it was common for people to have more than one wife. I mean,
Was it?
well, yeah.
I think, okay, go ahead.
But yet, if we read the commandments, you know, you're supposed to honor your wife. It doesn't say why.
Yeah, right.
So now, is he actually going against the commandments?
Well, at this time we don't have that, but remember every time Abraham tries that with what? What's her name? What was her name? See if you remember. Who Abraham was? What was Abraham's co-wife? Hagar. Yeah, Hagar. Yeah, and then he got married. Sarah dies. He gets married again with multiple wives. But with Hagar, it doesn't really work out, right? Because who has a problem with it the most? Sarah's like, yeah, I told her and told you to get together, but nah, you messed up, boy. Now you deal with it, So it doesn't turn out good. And now, who remembers the whole romance, if you will, between Isaac and Rebekah? How did that work out? Who picked the wife for Isaac? Yeah, but who initiated it? Abraham. And Abraham said, go to what people? My own people. I don't want you to go to neighborhood, the beauties right here down the road in, Oklahoma. You're going back to Texas. You're not going to Arkansas. He's just really specific. And basically, Abraham, the father, decides for his son. So Isaac is like thinking, yeah, I'm going to do the same thing, right? That's what I'm thinking. I mean, I'm going to be like Dad. And look how, then you have the whole story, a beautiful story, like, with camels and watering. They're probably telling that to their kids. This is how I met your mom. A servant, your grandpa sent a servant, and she was really beautiful, easy on the eye. And then, she was generous, and she invited, and then, the sun was setting, I was out in the field. Here comes your mom riding in, and we fell in love, and we went into the tent. I mean, this is the picture of beautiful story. And they're probably telling that, they're looking forward to telling it to their grandkids. And what does Esau do? He doesn't say, Dad, can you go send your servant back home to our folks? No, he goes out and he gets his own. And what? Not just one, right? They're like, well, maybe we can deal with one. But he's like, nah, I'm going to do my way. I'm going to pick my own woman. I'm going to bring two of them. They're like, who's this? I mean, this is no beauty queen from high school. That's the waitress from down the cafe, the truck stop. I mean, they're like, that country song about, I can quote all day, all kinds of country. 1990s, the parents are like, who's this? I mean, this is not it, boy. And then, he picks two wrong girls. And, you have the Surf City two girls for every boy, right? Remember that surfing song? I mean, he's just really. And now Rebecca, she already knows her favorite is who. She likes out of the two, Jacob. So she already Esau doesn't have to try real hard to make his mom upset. So again, there's not going to be any improvement of the relationship there. And so she's probably going to be more distant. Because it's kind of like, what's he doing? I mean, a lesson here, what's the lesson here? What could be a lesson? Does your family play an important role in your marriage? Let's put it this way, and vice versa. It does. The people that your kids marry, your attitude towards them, right, plays a big role, and vice versa. Their attitude towards you, or your attitude towards your in-laws, or your in-laws' attitude and the relationship. It's a major stuff, and you see this playing out here. Go to page 275. 275 in your hymnals again. 275. Um, 275. You have this marriage, holy matrimony, order of service. And so the kind of the opening remarks there by a pastor. If you look at the second paragraph, and the last sentence in that paragraph says, therefore, marriage is not to be entered into inadvisedly or lightly, but reverently, deliberately, and in accordance with the purposes for which it was instituted by God. So what does it mean marriage is not to be entered into inadvisedly or lightly? It's supposed to be what? Very deliberate decision, right? Very serious thought. It's not just like, well, I fell in love with a girl. And the other girl, too. It's like, we don't have much time, but, yeah, exactly. Good. Yeah. I mean, does Esau seek anybody's advice? Not his parents, for sure. Or anybody's advice. Well, I guess they agreed. The girls agreed, Look at the next paragraph in the middle of their sentence. Therefore, all persons who marry shall take a spouse in holiness and honor, not in the passion of what? Lust. So it could be lust, sexual lust, but it could be any other lust. What are you lusting for? For God has not called us to impurity, but in holiness. So you see this, he is not doing any of that, okay? He's just kind of, and that's what makes their life bitter, okay? All right, so we made it to the, so again, this is kind of a contemporary story, I think. Isaac and Rebekah, their marriage was what? Basically arranged marriage. And they're thinking to themselves, this is what we're going to do, and what a wonderful experience we had. And I remember when I saw your dad, and man, off we went into the sunset, into that. They didn't ride into the sunset. They rode into where? Into a tent. Okay. So this is not happening. Okay. This is not a fairy tale. And so when we think about life, this just reminds us that our life is not a fairy tale, and how bitterness can set in, and how family dynamics really play a huge role in our lives. Okay, all right, we'll just stop. So again, forget about what we talked about in 2 weeks anyway. You'll forget about, especially that imagery with tents and all that stuff. I think YouTube is going to ban us or something like that for doing that, any of that, right? All right. Okay, we're done. Let's say a prayer. We give you thanks, Almighty God, for reminding us that you welcome us and you love us and you pick us. You choose us not because we're better than anybody else. You just want to have a relationship with us. You invite us to your feast. So thank you for reminding us of our own and your blessing of faith that is given